All right, my name is Martin out of Watts, California. Um, Today I'm sharing my story. Being incarcerated most of my life, almost my whole life, including from juvenile hall to state prison. End up doing 10 years in state prison. Um, I was hanging out with the wrong crew. I just happened to be there. I just happened to be there, and a crime was committed. And based off of me not wanting to tell or give them any statements or testify, they charged me with the same thing. I was charged with attempted murder, which was later reduced and dropped and got found guilty for a lesser, which was assault with a firearm, gun enhancement, and gang enhancement. I ended up with 13 years. Um, after after I got sentenced to 13 years, I went to reception in Delano. A couple years in, I was in New Delano. By this time, went down on appeal. I went down on appeal and got the gun enhancement removed, being that I wasn't the one with the gun or used the gun. Um, after after I got the gun enhancement removed, I ended up with 9 with halftime. I didn't know. I had no clue what the. I had no clue that they gave me halftime because my lawyer told me, "Hey, look, they made a mistake. They were supposed to give you 10. They were supposed to give you 10 for the gang enhancement and none for the gun." But instead, what they did was they gave me 5 for the gang and I think another 4 for the gun. So it was 13. So being that I didn't go back on appeal, they ended up giving me halftime without me knowing, and I had no knowledge of it. It's like when I got resentenced, it didn't say halftime on it or anything like that. I ended up getting in trouble multiple times because I ended up on the 180 first prison sentence and ever first time going to prison and ever. I was 19. I was first turned 19 and ended up with the 13 years. I went straight to maximum security because while I was in reception, I was caught with a manufactured weapon. Um, in these places, you're taught to survive. You're taught to protect yourself. Um, I wouldn't recommend it for a lot of people. That's what led me to where I'm at now in my life, which is doing a lot better. But I ended up going to the I ended up going to New Delano, and from New Delano, yeah, I got the time knocked off and had no idea of halftime. By then, it was too late. I have caught too many write-ups. I caught too many write-ups for weapons, and sometimes when you have cellies and they have things on them as well, and you're not in control of any of that. You know what I mean? And you can't just make any statements or say, "Hey, it wasn't mine's." You gotta kind of gotta roll with the punches. And a couple occasions that happened for me, I had to just roll with the punches. And for instance, I had a celly that was holding contraband, which was a substance, and I went to yard. He stayed behind, and we were already in that seg. And they searched the cell. They pulled him out and searched the cell, and he left it just in a little cubby hole that they had right there. So when they found that, they tried to give us another charge as well, and he didn't man up and say, "Oh, hey, this is mine," So I couldn't go and make a statement and say, "Hey, he did this. It was his." So I just kept my mouth shut. I rolled with the punches. Kind of learned. I had to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
I had to learn the hard way on that. Over time, I just realized being in a place in a situation like that, you're being more controlled than anything in life. I still have homies that are from there, and they're my boys and whatnot, and I just choose not to live like that no more, and really hang out with them kind of people anymore because all it did was get me in trouble. And um, you end up in you end up in a situation like prison, and the politics are a lot different, and there's rules you got to live by and follow. Whether you like it or not. And for me, you're being controlled. You're being controlled by a whole nother organization, which is same as the gang. So now that I've seen this and went through this all these years of being incarcerated, I realize, that's not something I want to continue to do. I Ended up doing the 10 years. The prisons I went in a row. I went from Old Delano reception to New Delano, and from New Delano I ended up in the hole and ended up going to Tehachapi Shoe. I was stuck in Tehachapi Shoe for maybe 4.5, almost 5 years. About I think it was from 2012 to 20. What was it, like 2015, almost the end of 2016, I think. Is when I went to High Desert, and I ended up in High Desert on the 180 yard for the remainder of the time. Um, I ended up getting a couple write ups because there's just things that you have to participate in, and that's just some of the things that I was involved in. And I came out. I came out, and life was pretty hard for me. I really didn't have nobody. My grandma died when I was in the shoe in 2013, which was like a mother to me. Um, I already knew when I was coming out. I was like, man, who am I gonna be able to count on? Who am I gonna, who's gonna be there for me? I already knew I had nobody. I kind of already knew that. Even though my mom's still alive, and till this day, she's still alive. But me and her don't have a good relationship or whatnot. I ended up getting out. I ended up getting out after the 10 years. I lived with my mom for maybe 3 months. My mom, in my opinion, was never fit to be a mother. But it happened, and I got out. I was there with her for like maybe 3 months, and 3 months in, we started arguing because she just has a problem where she gets into it with her boyfriends, and she does that. She takes it out on me, anyways. Long story short, she uh she kicked me out because she got into it with her boyfriend. So we stopped talking. She tried to put me in jail, right back in jail over bad business. We did some business over a car, and it turned out she didn't like the business deal, or whatever it was, which I was really helping her out, and we she ended up talking to my probation officer trying to get me locked up over a bad business deal. So mine and her relationship kind of isn't there. It isn't there anymore, and I kind of don't speak to most of my family, and it's crazy because there's a thing that on TikTok that I was seeing, and it was like people that were incarcerated, and it was like it asked, how many of you people have been incarcerated no longer speak to your family? And a lot of people were in the comments like, I was one of them, I was one of them, and I was like, wow, that's kind of deep. But
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like a lot of people have different definitions of family and loyalty. You know what I'm saying? Because I kind of I took it more to heart that my family left me hanging and they left me on the streets. I lived in my car for maybe 3, 4 years, maybe almost even 5 years, I think it was. Um, Very difficult out here in society to get by, and the struggle's real out here. Living in the car is it's a hard situation, and paying for food, and I lived rough and I lived hard. Thank God, things got better for me. My situation got better, but it all had to do with prayer, and I give thanks to God, because if I didn't pray to Him, and this probably wouldn't have happened. None of this would have happened as it did. Um, because I was down and out, and I was doing bad, man. I was doing bad on the streets and doing drugs, and it wasn't nothing that I wanted to do. It's just that where I live it wasn't a safe spot. It was. I felt like I had to be up. I had to be alert, be aware of my surroundings, because things in the city of Watts, is pretty crazy, and a lot of things happen. You know, I try to. That's why I try to avoid there, and I try to stay away from that city. And all in all, now I live in San Diego. Life is great. I ended up opening a mobile detail business. I did mobile detailing. I tried that out. I was running it for probably almost a year. Business was okay. I mean, it's more backbreaking than you would actually think. I thought it would be simple and it'd be easy, but no, it was actually backbreaking, and it's not something easy to do by yourself. And I felt like it wasn't enough pay for all the work that you had to do. Mobile detailing is a lot harder than it looks, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure.
So I ended up stuck with that business. I had it at my sister's garage. And mind you, I still lived in the street. At this time, I was still living in the street, living in my car. I had my business at my sister's garage. eventually she ended up kicking me out of that garage, and she got into it with her husband over me having my stuff in the garage. They kicked me out. I had a kid on the way. I have my kid on the way, which she's 4 now. Um, I got rid of the stuff and I had to sell it quick and fast and get it out of her garage because she wanted it out right away. So I sold it. I sold it for like $500, everything. It kind of was a punch to the gut. I no longer was able to use that business and make any kind of money or nothing like that. I just felt like they were trying to put me down and they just wanted to see me doing bad. And for me, it was cut. I had to cut the negativity out, and even if it was me cutting my family off, that's what I did. And life honestly has been a lot better. No more drama or nothing like that. I don't, I don't, I don't worry about them. The sad thing is they involve their kids and whatnot. And they don't want their kids to talk to me and stuff like that. But their kids still try to reach out to me, and it's pretty sad. It's a sad story. But I don't regret anything on how I reacted and how I did it. Life's been good for me. I moved on from that mobile detailing. It caused me to hustle harder and do better. So I ended up with 2 tow trucks. One tow truck I built myself, and another tow truck that I bought after I did the first build. But I was running a little business of a tow truck as well. And after I got out of prison, I did that for maybe 2, almost 3 years. Um, Business was good. I mean, I was making good money. I always had money. The bad thing is you're not towing for the police, so you don't have any knowledge if these cars are stolen and if they're actually these people's cars and stuff like that. I ended up getting in trouble with that, and little to my knowledge, you know what I mean. The car didn't look stolen or anything, but I had no idea. I figure I'm just doing my job. I'm getting paid. I try to explain this to the courts, or they wanted paperwork proof. I didn't do that at the time. If they just paid me cash or they cash at me,
Yeah.
that was the only way I had to tell that I did business with this person. But so I ended up getting in trouble because I left a face mask in there. I had a face mask. It was around the COVID time. I was moving the vehicle, and I guess I put the car in neutral, and I left my mask right there on the seat of the car. They ended up picking me up later on, DNA, and trying to charge me for a stolen vehicle. Um, I fought it and later got it down, dropped to possession of a stolen vehicle because I explained to him, like, look, I was running a business. I had no knowledge of this. I don't have access to police files and check if these cars are reported stolen before I tow them. And that right there scared me, because I was like, whoa, I could end up back in prison for this, just for doing something that I think is an honest living. You know what I mean? I
Right.
so I ended up letting that job go. I had to sell the tow trucks, man. I couldn't deal with them. I'm not getting in trouble again. I'm not going to prison again. I had my kid on the way. Once my kid came, and that was even more scarier, because she was already here around that time. Um, I ended up getting rid of that job, and right now, what I do for a living, because I have a broken foot for fighting, I have a broken foot, a metal rod in my foot with a bunch of screws. Bone was broken in 3 pieces. Um, my bone was broken in 3 pieces, so I'm unable to work. I'm unable to stand for long periods of time, walk. I gained a lot of weight because of it. So now basically what I do for my income is I do a mechanical bull. I rent out mechanical bull on the weekends, which I just did yesterday. That's why it kind of was a long night for me yesterday.
Yeah.
Um, I did the mechanical bull, and I work on cars for a living. Honestly, I just changed the engine on one of my vehicles, and I went live on TikTok as well. And I shared it with everybody so they could share their experience and see how I work. Because everybody has their own way of working, and I watched. They actually got to watch me drop an engine in by myself. It's a lot of new things that I learned. While I got out, after I got out, I learned a lot of new things, and working on cars was one of them. That was one of the great things that I learned. It took me far, saved me a lot of money. Um, there's not a car I can't fix. So I kind of summed it up. I summed up my life and my story, and I don't know if that was too fast. It's
No,
only
no, no,
15 minutes.
no. I'll throw the questions in.
Okay.
So what was your childhood like before you ever got in trouble?
Um, it was pretty good. I mean, I could say it was pretty good, but I never had like a role model, a male role model there for me. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think that had a big part to do with how my life ended the way it did. You know, and I just had my mom would just she would see multiple guys. You know, that's just how a lot of women are at certain ages, I guess, and she would have different guys that would come in, you know. So I never took any of them guys kind of serious, and I never looked at them like any of them were my dad or any of them would care for us. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, and I think because of that, I lost a lot of respect for my mom. You know what I mean? And that's why I don't talk to my mom. It's not necessarily of that. It just kind of broke my heart when she almost put me back in jail after 10 years. You know, I was like, man, I didn't get to see you guys. I mind you, when I did the 10 years, not once did I get a contact visit. So whenever they did try to come and visit me, I think it was only like two or three times. All those times I was in the hole or in the shoe, so it was behind the glass. You know, I never once got a contact visit the whole 10 years. So it hurt me more when I'm like, yeah, I just did 10 years, didn't see you guys for 10 years, and you're gonna put me right back in this situation. Like after that, I couldn't. We stopped talking.
So what age did you first get involved with crime?
I think it was about 15 years old. 15 years old, I was, and again, it all started from home. It came from home. You know, problems in home, and my mom kicking me out. I'm the only boy. I got five sisters, and I'm the only boy. You know what I mean? I was, since I was a boy, I was treated a little more rougher. You know what I mean? And I was kicked out, and that kind of led me to my hood and hanging out with the wrong people, you know. So I think it all starts from within and it comes from what's going on in your household, you know. So for people that want to know, like, what do I do, how do I help my kid out or my nephew? Well, for one, you don't kick them out, because if you send them to the streets, they're going to the streets. You know what I mean? You would better be locking them in. You're staying in the house, you're not going anywhere. You know what I mean? I think you're better off like that. And I teach my nephews the same thing. You know, I go through the same headaches with them as well. And you know, they even try to step foot the wrong way. I get on them and I let them know. You know, because they have no idea what they're signing up for. You know, like nobody did. I mean, honestly, as a Mexican, I would have never thought all these politics and all this stuff goes on behind the walls. You know what I mean? And being busted and all the politics. Then people just thought they were gangbanging and doing gangbanging stuff. You know that they were doing when they were kids, but little did they know the politics behind it and what was going on and what you have to abide by and participate in. You know what I mean? There's a lot. There's a lot to it that people don't know,
Absolutely.
and I feel
So
like. Go ahead.
go, how old were you when you first went to juvenile hall? 15?
Yeah, I was 15 years old.
So walking into juvenile hall, right? Because I know for me, because I always felt out of place, right? Growing up as a kid, because I didn't have my mom and dad, so I always craved attention. Craving that attention ended me up in juvenile hall. So when I walked into juvenile hall, you can say I fell in love with the lifestyle because there was kids just like me, right?
Hmm.
So how was it? How was it walking in there?
Um, I'm 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 gonna say for everybody, you know, it's a little scary at first. You don't know what to expect, and you hear the worst of the worst of it, you know. But once you get there, exactly, you know, you're thinking exactly how you said right now. I'm here with a bunch of kids that are just like me and that like to do dumb stuff, you know. You get comfortable with it over time, you know. You get comfortable over it. You make friends. You find more people that know how to break the law a lot different in different ways, and you end up you end up connecting with them, and it's not a good thing. It's never a good thing. I don't think that's a part of rehabilitating them. You know, I think that does more damage than anything, to be honest with you, because you meet more criminals and you guys share ideas and you know, hey, hey, here, get my number or get my address, and we'll talk later. You know, and you guys end up doing some dumb stuff later on, you know, and you end right back in the same spot. I've done it.
Yeah, it's just networking. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel trapped in that life?
Um. Yeah. I mean, once you're in there, you're in there. You know what I mean? Once I started that 10 years, I'm like, man, there ain't no looking back. There ain't no turning back from this. You know, like how do you turn back from something like this? You're in prison. You ain't got no choice but to be a part of it. You know what I mean? There's no what you're gonna do. I mean, for some people, they'd PC up, and that's how they try to walk away from it. But from what I hear, is not even on them yards they're able to walk away from it. So it's bad all the way around. You know,
Yeah.
there's no walking away from it. You're going to be part of that until you're released, you know. So um and it's sad because a lot of people that I know, you know, there's still people that I talk to and they go right back in, you know. They come out and they don't think to do anything different, you know. They come back out and they go right back to getting high, and it's like, whoa, you didn't learn anything from the last time. Like, bro,
Right.
you just spend the last 10 years of your life in and out, in and out, in and out, and they still do the same thing, you know, because I guess that drug had really got a hold of them, you know. Thank God there ain't been a drug to get a hold of me like that, you know. I've always had more control over it, and I mean, I had my bad experience with them, and I uh, I had to learn from them, you know, and you either learn from it or you let it bring you down. And luckily, I learned from it. And I'm doing a lot better, man. I'm sober, and I've been sober for a few years already now. You know,
Hell
um, I,
yeah.
I've had people do it in front of me, and I don't get that kind of urgencies to even want to consume, you know, or do any of that. I'm not interested.
So, what's something people on the outside don't understand about street life?
Um, One of them is, as I was saying earlier, you know, they don't know what it consists of. They don't know what they're signing up for. There's a lot more than meets the eye. You know what I mean? So a lot of kids just think, oh, I'm gonna be part of a gang. It's cool. No, wait till you have to go into prison and you have to politic and you have to hold this. You have to catch a case, or hey, you have to go and stab this person. Uh, you know what I mean? And it could be somebody that's so close to you. You know, not too long ago, I was hearing a situation and that was going on, and it was family related, and they had to take care of it within family, you know. And I'm just like, man, that's kind of a hard thing to do, you know. How do you do that? So I think people don't know what they're signing up for when they go and they say they want to join a gang and be a part of a gang. You know what I mean?
Did
And
prison change you, harden you, or wake you up, or a little bit of everything?
I'd say a little bit of everything because it hardened me up, but at the same time, now that I have a kid, that's softened me up. So you know what I mean? And I say when I broke my foot, thank God that slowed me down. But prison not only gave me patience, but it gave me impatience as well. So it's kind of like a double edged sword. You know, I got a little bit of everything out of it. Um, it was a life experience, you know, that I don't think anybody wants to have to go through or live through, you know. And you're constantly, and especially like me, I did my whole prison term on level 4 180, you know. And that lifestyle, you're just constantly watching your back, and anybody walks behind you, you're watching them, you know. I seen too many stuff, you know. I seen people get stabbed when they're not paying attention, people when they're drinking water, you know, people when they're walking. It's just that's how it happens. So I've always watched my back, and even when I got out and got released, I had one of my brother-in-laws telling me, "Hey man, I'm gonna buy you a rear view mirror so you can walk around with it just like this." I was like, "All right, very funny, you know, very funny." He was like, "Well, you keep looking over your shoulder and you keep looking over your back." I was like, "Man, that's just how it's been for my whole life, you know, and
Yeah.
most of my life, that's just what you do. If you seen the stuff that I seen, then you would do the same thing, you know."
Yeah.
That's what I told him, and he wanted to know some of the stuff that I seen. I was like, "Man, I've seen bloodbaths, and it's just it's not entertaining, you know." And some of that stuff's not entertaining. There's been times where I've been like, "Dang, are they gonna really help these people or what?" Like, man, this person's getting hurt. He's getting butchered. You know, like, man, do you guys really not see what's going on? I'm like, man, God, somebody help him. You
Yeah.
know, I seen some bad stuff, and it's crazy, man, because like I said, I'm on here, and I came on here to let kids know, you know what I mean? They don't know what they're stepping into. They don't know what they're doing when they decide, hey, I'm gonna join a gang, and hey, we're gonna go at it and we're gonna fight these people from a gang. That's all they're thinking in their head. Like, we're gonna go
Yeah.
at it and we're gonna fight these people, and we're gonna beef with these people, and that's it. Not knowing once you go to prison, it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
Ain't gonna be none of that. You guys ain't fighting nobody in there. You know, you fight in there, you could get stabbed over that. You know,
Yep.
they don't know that. Just for they don't know what they're stepping into, you know. And I hope I could encourage them and help them out, make the right choice. You know, I've had people ask me on my opinions before, and how do I feel about that, and what do I think, and what would I do, you know. And I tell them straight up, like, hey man, you don't want that. I don't
Right.
want that for you, you know. I don't want that for you. This lifestyle, and it's not for everybody, you know. It wasn't for me neither. It really wasn't for me. It's just you're taught a survival. You know, you living by survival every day in there. So you got to do as you're told and abide by rules. And I did what I had to do. You know, I'm still here, thankfully.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't make it out of there. You know.
Right. Yeah, a lot of kids. I think it's even worse today because like all the TV shows, all the movies, all the music, right? Social media, it all portrays this picture of being a gangster to be really cool, right? So you
Yeah.
have all these kids watching these rap music videos. They have these Lamborghinis, they have these big chains, they have stacks of cash, right? Which isn't even real, right? It's not even real. It says production use only probably on it. But they look up to it and then they just try to go for that lifestyle, right? Knowing that they ain't gonna get no Lamborghini, right?
Yeah.
And it's crazy, like how they look. How well it was the same for us too, I guess, you know. But it's just we didn't have all of this other stuff when we were growing up, and now they just have it all at their fingertips of stuff to watch and listen to and to pollute their mind with.
Yeah, and I think the internet's one of the biggest ones. You know,
Yeah,
I have. I have little homies that I know until this day that they're in the rapping and stuff, but everything they do is on social media. It's like, you know, these people, they're not they're not actually there physically. You know what I mean? They're just posting videos and making it seem as something that it's not. You know, it's
right.
really not. And I think that's the false narrative that these kids are getting. You know what I mean? They're seeing they're seeing a beautiful picture, but they're not seeing that it's like an illusion or something, you know. It's
Yeah,
not real, you
right.
know.
So what was a breaking point for you? The moment you knew you had to change.
um Once I had my kid, you know, I felt I'm not gonna be the man that my dad was. I'm not gonna be that type of person. I'm gonna take care of my kid. I'm gonna actually be there for my kid. I'm gonna love my kid. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna abandon my kid. And I took all the selfishness out of myself to start making choices for my kid instead of being like, hey, you know what? I need some money. I'm gonna go do this. You know? I mean, don't get me wrong. I've done it before, but I had to start changing my mindset. And hey, you can't be doing this if you really care about your kid. You can't be doing this kind of stuff because you know you'll end up in jail, you'll end up in prison again, and you won't see your kids for years. You're gonna hurt your kid more than you're gonna hurt yourself, you know, and it's gonna kill you inside. And it happened to me, you know. I went to the county, thankfully for some minor stuff, you know, for misdemeanors, but I uh, I felt it though, you know. It was like wake up from God, I would say, you know, that helped me woke up, like, and got me to snap out of it. Like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? You know, you should know better than this. Like, you want to. To me, it was like a message. Like, you want to miss out on being with your kid. You want to miss the time of being there with her and help raising her. You know, I was like, man, I can't do that. It killed me inside. You know, matter of fact, I missed her first Christmas, and I went to jail on the most bogus charges ever. My girlfriend she had some prescription pills in the car with her name on it and everything, and and a taser. She had a little taser. You know, a lot of women carry a taser, a small little
Yeah,
hand taser. So, anyways, she had it in the car. I got pulled over because I was on some kind of probation. They took me to jail. They took me to jail for that taser, her prescription pills, And a Dodger bat that they wrote up, that was the biggest charge of them all. A little Dodger bat they wrote up as a felony, a baton.
Nah.
Yes, in
What?
Orange County. A matter of fact, in Orange County as well.
Oh
This
yeah,
was
yeah.
in
That makes sense now.
yeah, this was San Juan Capistrano. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
That's crazy.
they were mad because they didn't find nothing, and the guy I was with kind of told them I had something, you know, but they didn't find anything, and they still decided, well, we're gonna take this guy to jail, and we're gonna take him to jail for something, you know. So they took me to jail for herb pills and for the taser. The baton got dropped the very same day, you know. It got dropped right when I got booked. They were like, oh yeah, they didn't even look into that, but they still made me to go to court for those other two charges, which I ended up getting them to dismiss because I was like, my girlfriend's gonna come to court. The car's in both of our names. She could come testify and let you guys know that's her. Those are her belongings.
Hmm.
You know, the prescription pills are under her name. Like, it's not that I was taking them. You guys could have tried to test me on that day or whatnot. You know, you guys were just trying to take me to jail for any little reason, and that's what they did. You know, so that was one of the wake ups that I got. That it was like, you don't want to be in here. You don't want to be stuck. You know, that killed me, missing my first Christmas with my kid. You know, it really killed me. Thankfully, she don't remember none of that. You know what I mean? Thankfully, and I've been here for all the other ones, but I'm not trying to miss that moment for my kid. I'm not trying to be selfish and go to jail for anybody. You know, I've told my homies, I've told my friends, I've told everybody. I said, hey man, if I'm gonna ever go to jail again, it's gonna go to I'm gonna go to jail for my own self and my own family. You know what I mean? And if it's me having to put food on the table, that's the only reason it's gonna be. It
Yeah.
ain't never gonna be for nothing else. You know, I'm not doing it for nobody else. I'm not doing that, man. A lot of people are probably gonna hate me for even saying this stuff, but it's just the truth. You know,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
felt like I did it long enough in my life, and I was controlled for most of my life, and I don't have to live like that no more. You know, thankfully, I don't have to live by that. None of that really.
So what advice would you give a kid headed towards juvenile hall right now?
Mm, if they're already headed to juvenile hall, if there's a way out, what I would say, if there's a way out for you, and say your family wants to send you out of state or with another family member somewhere else, far away, I would say do it. Go for it. You know, because once you're in the gang, you know, it's gonna keep coming on about. Especially if you live in the gang area, you know, you're kind of it's worse than a curse. You know what I mean? They're coming to you every time, and once you go bad, you know they don't care. They don't care. Once you go bad, they don't. They're not gonna care for you. You're disposable. You know, and that's just how it is in this game. You know, you're disposable. I wish I could do more like how you do. You know what I mean? And how you went to the school. I seen that, man. I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's dope right there. You know. Um, that's motivational speeches, you know, that'll help people, you know, that'll help somebody make the right choice and do better, you know, especially hearing it from somebody that actually lived it. You know, I talked to my nephews and my girl's sister's son. I guess he was headed the wrong way or whatever. I sat him down and I talked to him. I said, look, man, I did 10 years in prison. This is not a joke. These guys that are saying you're your friends, they're not your friends.
No.
You need to sit back. You need to look. You need to listen. You need to pay attention because these people are not your friends. They'll tell on you in a heartbeat. You could go hurt somebody with them, and most of them are gonna tell on you in a heartbeat. So don't think that's not gonna happen. You better be prepared to go to jail. You better be prepared to do time. If that's the life you want to live, just know. I told him I don't think you're built for that, man. I told him straight up, I don't think you're built for that, man. I don't wish that upon you or anything. You know, you need to look at life for what it is. You got a good support system. You got mom and dad there. I said, man, I didn't have neither one of them there. You know, my mom was a mom, but she mostly was working and did what she had to do. She had to do what she had to do to make sure there was a roof over our head. You know what I mean? And I respect that, but you know, that whole time nobody, and I feel like nobody's perfect, so I do forgive her for it. But you know, she was never there to be a mother. You know, she was never there to be a parent, and um, there was nobody there giving us hugs or love, giving us love. You know what I mean, and giving us any of their attention. And you know, the people that were there, like we didn't know them so well. You know, they were just babysitting or watching us. You know, and I was tortured most of my life growing up as a kid. You know, I had guys that were they were called uncles, but they wasn't an uncle, you know. And these guys would torture me, you know. They would torture me bad, and I I confronted them, you know, as I got out of prison. I seen them and I confronted them, and they both apologized, and I thank God that they both apologized. You know what I mean? And or it would have ended a lot different. But that really messed me up in life because they used to make me they used to make me box them with gloves, with boxing gloves, and I was just like 8 years old. You know, I was 8 years old, and I was boxing grown men, and they would make me fight them. And if I gave them my back or put my head down, they would beat me up and give me headaches. And you know, that was more head trauma than anything. You know, I would cry about it, and you know, as a kid, I would cry, but I think it only toughened me up, and you know, made more of a monster than what they expected. You know,
Yeah.
so as I got older now, and I confronted them, they were terrified of me. You know, when they see me, they were scared. Like, oh man, yeah, you guys kind of, you know, you tortured the wrong kid. And now I see them with their kids, and they're all soft, and they're soft on their kids, and I'm like, well, what happened? You know, why'd you used to torture me and mess with me then? But it's crazy the way life works is crazy. You know, the people that you see later on in life as well is crazy part too. Huh? Okay.
Hey, so for my organization, I have a little slogan. It's change your mindset, change your choices, change your future. What does that mean to you?
Um, can you repeat that again?
Change your choices, or excuse me, change your mindset, change your choices, change your future.
Yeah. Well, first it comes with your mindset. So I see why you got that first because it all comes within. You know, change ain't gonna happen because your mom or your dad wants that to happen or your girlfriend wants you to change. You know, change comes within itself. You know what I mean? You have to want to change first before that can happen. Um, that's what you said, right? That was the first one, and
Yeah.
what was the rest?
Change your choices.
Of course, if you don't change your mindset first, you ain't gonna be able to change your choices. You know what I mean? You're gonna make the same choices every time. So I get exactly why you say that, and have it in that order. You know,
Yeah. I
and the third
really
one,
I think like if you change your mindset, you change your choices, you'll change your future, right? That's all you need to do. Those are the three
of course,
steps.
yeah, the future comes, it just falls in play. You know, but the first two, yeah, the mindset has to come from within, and the choices will follow right after. It's crazy how you put it because it falls in place exactly like that.
Yeah.
It has to come from within, regardless. I told my girl before, like she wanted me to change multiple times. You know, she would tell me like, "Hey, you need to stop doing this. You need to do this," and she always wanted better for me. And you know, I thank God for this woman because if it wasn't for her, then I would be on the streets doing all bad. You know, and doing stupid stuff still. You know, but she helped me open my eyes and realize that that's not what I wanted. So I would always tell her though. I said, relax, calm down, slow down. It's happening over time. It's happening, and like I told you, I was telling you about my friend, one of my boys, brother Lewis. He's a barber. He's a barber now. He got his barber license. He's about to open up his own shop and everything. He's done some time. I actually met him in the shoe, and he's about to open his own barber shop. He's a man of God. He's changed his life all the way around, man. He's a good guy. I'm actually happy for him, and I'm surprised. I never seen that coming. I would have never seen that coming, and God is good.
Yeah. Amen.
He's doing a lot better in life, and he's doing a lot better in life, and he tries to draw me closer too. It's just that he's a lot further than me. You know what I mean? I'm a firm believer in God. Don't get me wrong. I'm just not as religious as I should be, and I try to have a better relationship with him and get closer to him. Um, it's not working as fast as I would like it, but I'm working on it. You know what I mean? I am working on it because I'm a firm believer in God, and I believe He helped me get out of the situation that I was in because it all started with prayer. You know what I mean? And I felt like He gave me another chance, and I kept my promises to Him. I kept my promises to Him so far, and I plan to continue to. Um, I stopped getting high, and I made that a promise to Him. You know what I mean? I asked Him for help, and I made that a promise, and that's one of the reasons why I stopped getting high and I don't no longer use any drugs, you know, at all.
Okay, hell yeah. Those are all the questions I got, man. Do you have any questions for me?
Um, no, not really. I mean, I get to see what you do online. You know what I mean, and you're doing a good job, man. I'm sure a lot of people appreciate that. You know, especially if it's helping out the youth. You know.
Yeah.
And that's why
That's
when you asked me to come on, I was like, man, I'm more than willing. Yeah, if it's to help out the youth, you know, and point out to them these point of views, you know what I mean, and help them make the right choice, then let's do it, man. You know, I'll go for it at any time. I'll share my story 100 times if I had to, you know, to get the right person to make the choice, you know, to make a
yeah,
better choice in life, you know,
right.
and not be stuck in a situation like me.
That's what it's all about. Like when I started my organization, Broken to Redemption, I was speaking at rehabs, right? Like, because everybody matters, right? Everybody needs help, especially in those
Yeah,
circumstances. But I really wanted to help kids, and God put it in my lap to go speak at this junior high school, and He's opening more doors for that as well. So like
that's a blessing.
dreams do come true. You know, God is real, and He does answer prayers.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. And not only are you living proof of that, like I said, my boy, he's living proof of that, man. This guy's in a wheelchair too, mind you. He's in a wheelchair too, and he gets up every day and does everything by himself. I see him, you know, jump in his truck and everything by himself. Get to work, he does it by himself, man. And I'm like, that guy's, you know, he changed his life all the way around and is doing a lot better, you know. And I actually told him to come on to he should come onto your podcast. I asked him and he said, hey man, I'll check it out and I'll let you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I'll be getting at you about that and let you know if he's willing to come on. He's gonna probably watch this podcast first and then he's gonna decide. I'm assuming, I don't know. He's probably
yeah,
a
yeah,
busy guy as well.
yeah.
But if I could get him on the show, I'm gonna bring him on, man. So
Okay,
he could share his story and his testimony as well. You know.
all right, for
I
sure.
thank you. I thank you for the opportunity, man, and the chance to, you know, to share my story.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna hit stop recording and then let you finish uploading on my side.
Okay.